guys, so Mike here. Tonight we're back. We're printing, like the title says, we're printing a Cubone skull mask. Here, if you guys want to see it, I'll try to find it back again. There you go, I just found it again. If we look at what I'm printing, this is the printer, and this is the thing we are printing right now. So I can look at it in 3D to show you guys. And I know that printing a skull and talking about grief might be a little bit weird, but Cubone's a cute little Pokemon, so why not? Apparently this 3D image does not want to work, so you'll just have to see it like this. So, Cubone. It's currently on the printer. If we look on the printer itself, there you go. Hours ago, and we're only at that rate. We still have roughly 24 hours to go. I'll leave the print on or come back tomorrow and show you the progress, or we'll see it on Friday. But one thing I do want to do today is talk about grief. So, as some of you may know, I lost my grandfather on Monday, and it hasn't been that easy. Really, I've not been going through the grief process as what is considered normal, and there's no normal per se. So we may know that, you know, grief has a few stages, starting with denial and going all the way to acceptance. But what we need to talk about is that grief is different for everyone. So for me, I went straight to past acceptance. I said my farewells to my grandparents about 2-3 years ago, last time I saw them. And they told me that, hey, you know, you came to see us and that's good and thank you. And you don't need to come to the funeral when we go away because we're going soon. At the time, it really did hurt. And now, it's a few years later, it feels like I already accepted it. Now, I struggled at work for the past few days and struggled at home with doing daily chores, so I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'm not dealing with this properly. So I went and looked it up on the internet, and I found quite a few things that were interesting to read. So what is normal grieving, and what are the stages, right? So, really, grief is just a natural way of responding to a loss of someone or something. So, losing something you've always dreamed of or that you've loved, or like, as an example, the job you've always wanted, you now have, and you get fired for whatever reason. Well, you're going to grieve that. You lose a friend, you're going to grieve that friend. You lose a family member, you're going to grieve that. So grievance is all about how we deal with the loss of something. And there are a few stages. Apparently there are more than that. From what I've read, the first initial stages that we see are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. But from all sorts of things that I've been reading, there's a lot more than that. I can't name them all because those are the 5 main steps that everybody goes through. And are they the everything in the grieving process? I don't believe so. But I'm not a psychologist. I'd love to get somebody else's input on this. So while we discuss grief, I'll be working on some of these things here. So as you know, last week I printed a Sylvie crown. So a Loki variant crown that fits on the head of my dog. She looks very adorable with it, but she hates it. I'm still going to make it look better. Maybe you can see that, let's see if I can remove some of the shadows. Or the light exposure, rather. It's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see on the sides there that I started sanding. So what I use for sanding is I always start with a rough grit. So this is extremely rough. I use them till they're no longer good. This is a 40 grit. You might be able to see it if I move. There you go, 40. It's upside down for you. So I always start my prints with this, and this removes all the rough textures and all that that's there. I'm going to use it on these as well to make sure that, you know, all the extra scotch tape that I use for bed adhesion stays off and things like that. I try to remove as much as possible by hand. Then I use the 40 grit, go over, make it as smooth as possible. But I don't put too much effort in making it look nice with just sandpaper, because I use primer filler to fill it up. So the black spots here, that's just because I left them outside one night to dry. So I could just sand that off. And I'll put another coat of primer on there, make it go away. Once they're all nice and gray, I can ship them off. So I'm going to keep working on this one here, and we'll be able to talk about grief, or how I'm dealing with it. And please, while I'm talking about it, let me know your thoughts. So, grief, right? We start off with, if we follow the proper, it's always, nobody knows for sure what the full extent of it is. So, what order and what emotions you're supposed to go through. But the orders that we saw was, like I said, it started off with depression and then moved on to anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. I feel like I went straight to acceptance. So apparently this is the final stage of grief, where you accept the reality and just you move on, not forgetting, but just carrying on with your life. So I feel like I went straight to that. I don't know, I kind of felt that it was too quick. Something might be missing. So I talked to a lot of people, and why is this looking like CRT? What do you mean CRT? I'm at 720p.